winningest quarterback in BYU history, 32 victories in 3 seasons, also a frequent guest on the Wise Guys. It's a pleasure to welcome the great Max Hall back to the show. Hey, Max.
Going on?
It's great to see you. Nixon, by the way, just told us that in practice, when he had the chance to intercept you, it was like the greatest thing ever. He said, I tried to intercept every ball that Max would throw and then hand it to him. I don't think it happened very often, but he remembers he remembers those moments. And this is after Brian told us a story of how he used to drop passes because he wanted Jake Heaps to win the starting job. So that brought in a whole set of discussion points.
I know. You can judge me.
And Nixon's like, hey, if Max ever threw one, I'm catching it and I'm handing it back to him.
Well, let me tell you something. There was a key word in what Dave Nixon said, and that word was try. He definitely tried very hard and tried a lot, but I didn't throw a pick to Dave Nixon. I don't care what he says. There's no way in heck I ever threw an interception to Dave Nixon. First of all, the guy wasn't fast enough to cover. He had both hands, and he was easily manipulated with my eyes, and so you can tell him I said that.
And we will. We love that you give it to us straight. You know, with sure. Nix, we're doing stuff with him all the time.
I do know. I don't even think I even had a fingernail on Max Hall pass.
Is that right?
You want to know why?
Why?
I was scared to throw it your way, dude. I didn't want you're locked down over there, dude.
You know what? To be honest, to be fair, I really didn't get a lot of passes anyway. But so when Nix was saying that, I was like, no, wait a minute. I didn't get an interception. How you get an interception, Nix? But this all makes sense to me now.
So Max, when you're beating Oklahoma and Belo's got 2 pass interference calls back there in the secondary, you go over there and go, Belo, play your spot. You're killing us.
No, man. He's out there giving everything he's got. I can't help it if the referees can't make a dang call. You know what I mean? I can't help that, right?
I also got I think three pass breakups too. Yeah. Because I finished second in the nation that year. So
that was good.
As many pass breakups I had, as many
And I tell you what, our defense balled out in that game, so I don't have one negative thing to say about anything that we did on defense in that game because
14-13.
I threw the touchdown and all that, but you go back and look at all the turnovers and everything that our defense did in that game. I mean, that's why we won.
We had that historic 8-play goal line stand as well because of one of my pass interferences. We extended.
You set up that great moment.
We extended it, so it all worked together.
Max, let's start with an academic update on your summer school program because we feel deeply invested in that. How are things going?
Slow but good. I forgot how much I don't like school, and I'm taking physical science.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And man, it's hard for me because I'm trying to explain why time slows down when traveling at the speed of light and what a light clock is and all this stuff. And I'm, just let me read a defense and I can tell you about that. So I'm having to relearn and go through all this stuff and try to find time to do it in my schedule. So it's going. I'm working on it slowly, and I really want to get these 2 classes done and be able to graduate. So
are these the last 2?
Working on it.
Is this it? These last 2?
Here's the story: is when I came back to BYU as a student coach.
Yeah.
I had 24 credits left to graduate, and I had the idea that I could do all 24 at one time in one semester.
Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It was a lot.
That's crazy.
And I ended up having to drop 2 of the classes, and so those 2 classes are the ones I'm trying to make up.
Well, I'm pretty sure I promised McKenzie we're going to stay on you, and now we're going to make this a community project of getting this done because there's a lot of things hanging in the balance, most notably the BYU Athletic Hall of Fame, which is just ready to open the door and have you walk in it. So there's a lot of motivations. You talked about it last time you were on. That's why we're just following up to make sure we're still on course because we want all that for you and more.
Remember what Bronco used to tell us? Accountability. That's what it is in a good way, right? And what's interesting is I talked to Dave last week when I was on about my cousin Joe Sampson, and he's in a similar boat. He has a semester left, a couple of classes that he's doing now. And he had to pass up on a couple of coaching opportunities here at BYU and some other places. And the opportunity that you have for it. We just want you to succeed, and we want you to get into the Hall of Fame. And we also want some inside information when you go on to do great things and be at Division I schools that you play against BYU, and be able to have you as a guest as well as an opponent coach. So take that how you want. But
That was a lot. That was a lot. You just put a lot on Max's plate.
I did. Matt, look, I could do that because when it comes to 2-minute drill and it's a minute 30 left and we're down by 4, Max can take the pressure.
Yeah.
It's my quarterback. I believe in it.
We're going to keep dogging you on that, Max, because we feel like we're part of the family. So we appreciate your patience with us. 3 times you started fall camp at BYU. The Cougs start a week from tomorrow. Did you enjoy camp, or was it like the worst thing ever? What was it like for you?
I loved it.
Did you?
Outside of the conditioning test, I loved it. I remember one year Bronco thought it would be a good idea to run the Y for our conditioning test. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of pulled hammies that year during fall camp. But I really enjoyed it. I loved the feeling of football about to start, of the two-a-days and all the time you spend in the film room. And I enjoyed practice. I liked practicing, and I knew it was a time for us to get ready for the season and to get not only myself but my team prepared and on the right track and on the same page with everything. So I actually really enjoyed it, and I also liked the competition that was there. And Coach Doman always had goals and competitions for me to reach. And in fact, a funny story is I had the previous day had a really bad practice. Just we couldn't connect. We couldn't move the ball. It was just sloppy. And so I was really looking forward to the next day of practice. And I watched the film and got prepared, and I was all ready to go. And Bronco pulled one of those things where we had meetings. We got taped up. We're out warming up. And he says, "All right, guys, we're going to go float the river." And I might have been the only person on that field who was ticked off about it. Like, I wanted to practice. And I looked at Doman like, "Are you kidding me? Float the dang river? We practiced like crap last night. We got to get better. This is, and he's like, "Man, just put a smile on your face and let's go." So
Not to mention
I enjoyed it.
That river's 50 degrees. You get in the river and suddenly it's the fun of floating on the river. Once hypothermia sets in, I guess that's one cold river. Let me ask you a follow-up on that. As camp began for you, how long did it take you to get the offense on the same page? And can you achieve that while 2 kids are competing for the same job like we have going into this camp this year?
I think it's pretty well known that sometimes, well, I think most of the time it takes the offense a little bit longer to get going than the defense. And so in my experience when I was there, all 3 years we had a great defense when I was there. We would kind of get, we get shut down by the defense a lot, especially in the first 2 weeks of practice and as we were trying to figure things out. So I feel like from an offensive perspective, every rep, every practice counts during fall camp so that you guys can get to that spot going into the first game. And so I think it takes most of fall camp really for anybody to get the offense clicking to where you want it. So now having 2 quarterbacks makes it even that more difficult, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've always been a guy that feels like once you have a starting quarterback, 90% of the reps need to go to him in order for him to feel comfortable in the scheme and the offense and get all the reps that he needs. So it's going to be interesting to see how BYU handles that and kind of who rises to the top and gets the starting job. I would suggest making that decision sooner rather than later so that guy can start getting the reps he needs that you feel comfortable going into the season. I don't know how they're planning on doing that. They're going to have to design practice maybe different in order to get both those guys the reps in order to, number one, get enough looks from them to make that decision, and number 2, that no matter whoever ends up getting the spot has the volume that you need to go into the first game of the season, so where the game, because the more reps you get, the game starts slowing down.
Yeah.
And the reads start becoming more open. But that only happens with the experience of getting the reps. And so it's going to be a challenge, I think. It's kind of funny out here in Arizona. I'm kind of going through the same thing. I got a quarterback competition going on, and as a coach, it makes it a lot harder to reach those those marks or those goals that you have during fall camp. So
As a coach, so obviously when you're looking at it from a quarterback battle perspective, you're looking at just the basics like completion, taking care of the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Something that David brought up, which I really agree, but didn't think about it, was just the continuity, right? Because even on the defensive side, we can start to rally around a guy like, oh yeah, that's the guy. For you as a coach to make that decision, outside of the X's and O's, what else are you looking for? Is it, leadership, that continuity, that David had mentioned, or is it just the reps on the field?
No, the reps of the field, that's the volume I'm talking about to get there, but there's so much more that goes into it because as a coach, you're not only, for me as a coach, I'm putting the guy out there that I trust the most, number one. Number two, the guy out there who, when it's not a perfect play call or when things break down, can turn a negative into a positive, who can go make a play or make the right decision at the time. But more importantly, as a coach, I watch the team. And I watch how they react to the quarterback. I watch how the receivers react. I watch how the quarterback interacts with the receivers and with the offensive line and with everybody. And what kind of energy does that quarterback bring to the team? When one quarterback's in, does it feel different? So yes, you can count completions and you can do all that. But at the end of the day, you want the right energy, you want the right enthusiasm, and you want the guy who gives your team the best chance to win. And so that's another thing I'm looking for, is because team continuity, what you just said, is a big deal. And if the guys seem to trust and go with a certain quarterback, then you got to kind of go with what the team decides in a way, if that makes sense.
Former BYU quarterback Max Hall on the Wise Guys tonight. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Max threw for over 11,000 yards and 94 touchdowns over 3 seasons at BYU. The inability to run the ball last year put a lot of pressure on the passing game. When you were here, Harvey Unga became the school's all-time leading rusher, so you had that helping you in the backfield. No matter who the quarterback is, how critical is it for the running game to be successful so the quarterback can be successful this fall?
Yeah, I think that's obvious, and I think any BYU fan knows that the running game wasn't there. And you know what? The coaches there know that. And I think they've made some great changes on the staff. I love some of the new coaches they have. I've had an opportunity to spend, a short time with them. And when I was up there for spring ball and been there a few times this summer, I really like what I see. I really like what their focus is on. I think A-Rod's a great offensive coordinator, but his offense runs when you can run the football. I think that's the number one thing that needs to happen in his offense. And he'll tell you the same thing, because that's going to open up everything else that he likes to do in the pass game, in the rollout game, the dash game, the boot game, all that stuff that he likes to do. So I think it's been a huge emphasis for them in the offseason and spring ball, and obviously it will continue to be during fall camp. But I tell you what, if they can get that run game going and get a rhythm and find a running back that has good continuity with the offensive line and with their new coach, get things going, BYU could have a very explosive offense this year. But like you said, and I think everybody knows this, it's going to come down to, can we run the football in the Big 12?
So Max, I obviously being an alumni and being from California, I always love when BYU plays Cal or Stanford, and especially San Diego State, because I took my scholarship away. But is this does something for you as a native Californian, or in your case, being from Arizona? It means a little bit more to you, and with BYU playing Arizona State, coming up this November, and put a little pause. Since being here, people have always told me that Arizona, certain places in Arizona was a mini Provo, right? There's a lot of LDS connections and community.
I attended a ward. I was down there with the baseball team. We were somewhere in Mesa. It was Provo.
See, that's what I'm saying. And we all know that fans travel well, regardless. But especially, that's one area where we'll expect to have a lot of support. And so when that night comes, right, when BYU plays Arizona State, what's that going to mean to you?
Well, it's going to mean a lot to me, because not only because of the population of LDS people down here, but I grew up an ASU guy.
Yeah.
You know, I have an ASU family. I went to ASU. I chose ASU before I went to BYU.
That ASU was before your mission, and then BYU came after.
Yeah, I felt the spirit for the first time and finally made the right decision, right? So, but you know, we have a lot of family ties and a lot of roots down here in Arizona and at Arizona State, and I'm an Arizona State fan, and I always will be. Obviously, I will be down on the. I want to be down on the BYU sideline and rooting for the Cougars, but. Yeah, I want to win that game. And I remember my senior year, we were supposed to play Arizona State game 1. They dropped out, and we ended up playing Oklahoma. So I was really looking forward to coming back and home and playing that game. But I do believe there's going to be a lot of blue in that stadium when we play Arizona State. I think we'll be well represented. And
it could be a
lot of
takeover.
fans out at that game. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited that I get to go to the game and be there. It's at home. And I expect us to win. You know, I think we should beat these guys, and so it's going to be fun. But it means a lot to me because you know 2 of my teams playing against each other. But obviously, the Cougs are going to win.
Hey, we're booking you right now for the pregame show there on the field with Spencer that night. It's not a Friday night, so there's not going to be a high school conflict because you go deep into the playoffs. So Saturday night should be good for you at what's now called. Mountain America Stadium instead of Sun Devil Stadium, right?
I think so.
I think that's the new name. And you're right. And we've been talking to the alumni group. They think there's a chance for a stadium takeover down there that night because Arizona State's rebuilding. It's late in the year, and if things haven't gone quite their way, there's a chance for a lot of blue. Wouldn't you say?
I agree. I think based on. The last couple of years, as much as I love the Sun Devils, the last couple of years, just we haven't met expectations. Stadium hasn't been full, so unless they're coming out and just having a fantastic year, we might fill that place. So I hope ASU has a great year. I hope a lot of fans show up for that game, and it's a great game. But I agree. I think there should be more blue in that stadium than maroon and gold.
All right, here's the Cougar Board question of the week, and it's for you, Max. If you're not familiar with Cougar Board, it's the largest online community of BYU fans, thousands of posts daily. And this question tonight comes from SJS, one of their insider subscribers. He wants to know, Max, how different are the offensive schemes that BYU employs versus the one you run down there at ALA?
Interesting question. I actually have adopted some of the things that BYU does as I've been down there and talked to them and kind of gone through scheme and all that. I would say the biggest difference is obviously a college offense is going to be a little bit different than a high school offense, but I think I spread it out more. I RPO more, and kind of my philosophy on offense is we want to take what they give us at times. We want to be creative but simple to where we're given different looks, motion, shifts, but at the end of the day, the run scheme, the read by the quarterback is fairly simple. Get the ball to your playmakers, that sort of a thing. So I don't think I quite rely on the run game as heavy as BYU does, but I do a lot of things similar to what they do, but maybe kind of adopt it to the high school level, if that makes sense. So it's different. I've kind of taken things that I've learned from all over the place and find out what works for high school kids and what can they comprehend and what can they execute at a high level. And then be really good at those things. And then once they're good at those things, then we can dress it up and we can do different things to give the defense a hard time. But I would say that's the biggest difference is maybe I'm just a little bit more spread, a little bit more RPO than the Cougars are.
Hey, who do you open with?
We open with Saguaro High School.
Okay.
It's a good team. They won the 6A championship last year.
Ooh, nice.
And do you play Ty's group? That's our follow-up question. So as we explained on your last visit on this show, Ty was moved from head coach of ALA Queen Creek to another ALA school because they had some issues and they needed Ty to go fix them, which gave you a great opportunity to rise in power, and you're still the offensive coordinator with big plans at ALA Queen Creek. So when is the showdown between the mind of Max Hall and the mind of Ty Detmer?
That's going to be game 3.
Game 3.
Nice.
Unfortunately for them, I'm going to have 2 games of film on them. And, you know, I understand that Ty thinks he knows what I do and what we do on offense. And it's going to be a chess match for sure. But it's going to be a fun game. I have so much respect for Coach Detmer, and I learned a lot from him when he was here with me. And he taught me a lot. You know, not just X's and O's, but how to be a coach and how to manage a game and do different things. So it's definitely going to be a chess match. You know, Ty's kind of playing the whole, oh yeah, you guys are going to beat us, kind of, you know, giving me that right now. But I know on that Friday, actually it's on a Thursday night. It's going to be competitive, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be, you know, there's going to be a lot of respect on both sidelines for each other. So it'll be a fun one. We're looking forward to it.
I know you guys are close, and the two of you have meant a lot to each other. So, you know, a lot of times we'll see Nick Saban and some of his guys talking before. Kyle Whittingham and Kalani will get together, and fans go, oh, what could they possibly be talking about? So now you and Ty get to meet at midfield while the teams are warming up. What are you guys going to talk about?
I'll probably mess with him. You know what I mean? I'll probably try to get in his head a little bit or say something stupid. You know what I mean? But no, we'll shake hands. We'll give each other a hug, and we'll tell each other good luck, and then we'll battle it out for 4 quarters, and then do it again after the game. Man, it is definitely not. I think the rivalry between these two schools was pretty intense before.
Yeah.
I think the whole demeanor and mood of the whole thing is changing a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong. As soon as the game starts, I don't care who's on the other side of the field. I'm going to beat you.
Absolutely.
But there's definitely a high level of respect there because of everything that Ty's accomplished. But, you know, unfortunately, he's got to go against me.
It's going to be awesome. I feel like it should be on ESPN. Max against Ty Thursday night.
That would be good, yeah.
BYU TV, let's go.
Let's do it.
You know what?
They got to make that. You got to do that.
If it wouldn't get you and us in so much trouble, I think we'd do it in a heartbeat. Hey, give our best to Mackenzie, and let's stay on that physical science. 2 classes to go until a whole lot of great things ahead of you. We're proud of you, and we look forward to your season. And circle that Arizona State date for our pregame show before down on the field.
Absolutely. I love it, man. I appreciate you guys. Love you. Appreciate all you do and having me on. So thank you.
Thanks, Max.
All right, Max. Love you too.
A great Max Hall. Getting ready.